La da da da, la da da da, la da 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 da. But I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more.
Well, you may not be walking 500 miles, but I hope you are walking a mile a day, burning that extra 100 calories that leads to a weight loss of about a pound a month, 10 or 12 pounds a year. Also, I hope you're cutting out some of those sugary snacks, reducing your calorie intake by about 100 or so a day, resulting in the loss of another pound or so a month. Between those two things, you should be on track to lose 20 or 25 pounds in the first year. Now, we've started out pretty slow and easy. Anytime you feel like it, start walking a little further, or maybe walk a little faster. Here's an interesting fact though, walking faster doesn't burn any more calories than walking slowly. It's the distance you walk and not how fast you walk it that determines how many calories you burn. Of course, if you walk fast, you'll cover that mile in less time, and also you'll increase your heart rate and breathe a little bit harder, and both of those things are good for your endurance and your overall health. I'm standing here on my treadmill today so that I can demonstrate to you what it looks like to walk 2 miles an hour, 3 miles an hour, and 4 miles an hour. I'll set the treadmill to 2 miles an hour and just show you what that looks like. As you can see, at 2 miles an hour, we're not moving very fast at all. Most of us would actually have to concentrate and work hard to just move this slowly. If we make it 2.5 miles an hour though, we're at a more comfortable walking pace. Most of us probably in the course of the day walk around to 2.5 to 3 miles an hour. If we do bump this up to 3, now we're walking with a purpose. We have some place to go. We've got an appointment to keep. 3.5 miles an hour, we're really starting to hurry. We may be late for a plane, having to rush to catch it. 4 miles an hour, we almost have to break into a jog. Most of us probably aren't going to walk 4 miles an hour in the course of our day. Keep in mind though, it's how far you walk and not how fast you walk that determines how many calories you'll burn. So go out there, walk a mile. If you don't know what a mile looks like, walk a half hour. Walk 15 minutes, turn around and walk back. In that 30 minutes, you'll almost certainly have covered a mile and burned that 100 calories. Well, you may not burn more calories by walking faster, but we all know that there's more to being healthy than just burning calories and cutting calories and losing weight, don't we? In the future, we'll talk about the many benefits of aerobic exercises such as walking. We'll talk about how they can increase your lung capacity, strengthen your heart, increase your endurance, and how they can lower your blood pressure and even your cholesterol levels. But today we're going to discuss a simple 5-minute routine to increase your balance and your flexibility. Today we're going to introduce you to yoga. Now you may say, yoga? Why would I want to do yoga? Well, the simple answer to that question is it's the best way to increase your balance and your flexibility. And that becomes increasingly important as we grow older. But if you really don't like the idea of doing yoga, well, you can just call it stretching. One of the great things about yoga is that it requires very little, if any, equipment. If you have a hard floor, you might want to invest in a yoga mat. You can buy one at Walmart or any sporting goods store for about $20. Don't bother to get one of the expensive ones. A cheap one will be just fine. If you already have a nice carpet or a nice rug to do your yoga on, you may not even need a mat at all. You also won't need any special clothing. Any clothing that doesn't restrict your movements will be just fine. Shorts and a t-shirt are just fine. Dedicated yogis will tell you that you have to do your yoga barefoot, but I like to do mine with shoes on. You choose whether you'd like to do it with shoes or without. It's completely up to you. The basic premise of yoga is that you strike a pose and you hold that pose for a period of time. I generally hold mine for somewhere between 10 and 30 seconds, depending on the difficulty of the pose and just how I feel that day. I do this by counting. I like to count by using my music as a background. I've got a good selection
of recorded music that the tempo is about 1 beat per second. So it makes it very easy for me to count off the seconds. But you don't need that. You can just count it in your head or count your breaths. Part of yoga is controlling your breathing. So if you're doing that, if you're counting your breaths as you go, it kind of helps you to kind of keep track of that. Try to breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth, and just relax and enjoy what you're doing. Now, some yoga poses are very difficult to do and require a good deal of athleticism. But don't worry, we're not going to start there. We'll start with poses that almost anyone can do. Full disclosure here, I'm not a professional yoga instructor. I modify the yoga poses to suit my needs and my abilities. And in some cases, I'm sure that a yogi would look at me and say, he's not doing that right. Well, I'm probably not. And if I know that for certain, I'll show you a picture of someone who really knows what they're doing, striking that pose, so that you'll see what it should look like and not what I've done to modify it. With all that in mind, let's get started. But first, make sure you're appropriately clothed in something that doesn't restrict your motion. Give you a chance now to pause the video if you need to go change.
Before we begin our yoga session, let's talk just a little bit about good posture. Good posture is important for a couple of reasons. First of all, it helps you to look better. When you're slouching, it sort of emphasizes all the things you don't want to emphasize about your body. If, on the other hand, you suck in your belly a little bit, stick out your chest, and establish good posture, you immediately look better, and it's immediately rewarded. You don't have to wait several weeks for that diet to kick in. In addition, good posture is good for your health. Keeps all your joints aligned so that you're less likely to develop joint problems and joint pain. Good posture means that your knees are directly above your ankles, your hips are directly above your knees, your shoulders are directly above your hips. Suck in your belly just a little bit, tuck in your butt, square your shoulders, hold your head high. We'll begin each yoga session and each exercise session by establishing good posture. And really, when you go out for a walk, you should establish good posture and maintain good posture while you walk. Now, our first yoga pose is called the palm tree. To do the palm tree, we're going to raise our hands high above our head and press our palms together. Alternatively, you could interlock your fingers and press them towards the ceiling. I don't like to do this because it hurts my wrists, so I just keep my palms pressed together. Now, if it hurts your shoulders to do this, you could also just make a U with your arms or put your hands in sort of a prayer position in front of you like this. But now I'm going to raise my hands high above my head, press my palms together, and raise myself up on my toes. This obviously is to improve your balance. Now, the objective here is to stay as motionless as possible. As you can see, though, I'm wobbling around a little bit, and that's probably going to happen. If you start to lose your balance, you can lower yourself back for a moment, regain your balance, go back up on your toes. I'm going to give it a count of 20 now. And down and relax. Our second yoga pose is called the mountain. To do the mountain, we stand in a natural way, establishing our good posture. Our feet are flat on the floor, a comfortable distance apart. Keep our legs straight, but don't lock your knees. Now turn your palms to the front like this. Suck in your belly. Try to get your belly button to touch your spine. Just suck it in as far as you can. Tuck in your butt. Force your shoulders down and back. Kind of dig your toes into the floor. Keep all those muscles tensed now. Breathe in through your nose and out through your mouth for a count of 20. This is one of those poses that I've modified slightly. The correct way to do this really is to put your toes together and your heels slightly apart and spread your fingers. If you'd like to do it that way, feel free. And relax. And that's called the mountain. For our next group of poses, we're going to use our mat. We're going to get down on our hands and knees now. So if you haven't got your mat, go get it, or find a comfortable carpet or rug that you can kneel on. Get down on your hands and knees And the first pose we're going to do is called the cow. To do the cow, we stay on our hands and knees and we just press our back and our spine towards the floor as far as we can, kind of arching the back downward, as you will. This is going to loosen up all those joints along your spine and also strengthen the muscles. It helps to keep them together. We'll hold this for a count of 20. All right, and relax. Next, we're going to do the cat. The cat is just sort of the opposite. Stay on your hands and knees, and we're going to arch our back upward and suck our navel in as tight as we can, arching our back just as far upward as we can. Again, it's loosening up those joints in the spine and strengthening those muscles. These two exercises together will help alleviate any kind of back pain that you might have. And we'll hold this for a count of 20. Again, breathing in through your nose and out through your mouth. And relax. Staying on our hands and knees now, we're next going to do the bird dog. With the bird dog, what we'll do is we'll take one leg, put it out behind us, holding it as close to parallel to the ground as we can. Now, more advanced students of yoga will also hold out their arm in front of them as far as they can. It's very difficult to do at first, so for now we'll just keep our leg out and we'll hold that for a count of 20. And now we'll do it with the other leg. Again, trying to keep the leg as close to parallel to the ground as we can. We have one more to do, and that's called the child's pose. What we'll do with this one is we'll stay on our hands and knees, point our toes back, away from us. Lower yourself now until your chest is resting on your thighs and your heels are against your fanny. Stretch your arms out as far in front of you as you can. And again, we'll hold it for a count of 20. And back up. Let's quickly review what we did today. Our first yoga pose was the palm tree. To do the palm tree, we hold our hands high above our head with our palms pressed together. We stand up on our toes and we hold that for the desired count, somewhere between 10 and 30 as you're starting out. The second yoga pose is the mountain. We first establish our good posture with our feet slightly spread apart, knees bent just a little, not locked, palms forward, shoulders down and back. Suck your belly button in toward your spine, tuck in your butt, press your toes into the floor, and hold that for the desired count. Next, we did the cow. To do the cow, we're on our hands and knees. We press our back down toward the floor as far as possible, keeping our arms straight, and suck in your belly. Again, trying to make your belly button touch your spine. Then we did the cat, kind of the opposite of the cow. We stay on our hands and knees, arch our back upwards as far as possible. Again, suck in your belly. Next, we did the bird dog. Remaining on our hands and knees, we lift one leg, point it straight back as close to parallel to the floor as we can. Do it first with one leg and then the other, counting for the desired count each time. And finally, we did the child's pose. Still on our hands and knees, we lowered ourselves until our chest was on our thighs, our heels touching our fanny, arms extended as far in front of you as you can reach.
And that concludes our first session on flexibility and balance. And yoga is a great way to improve in those areas. We'll add more yoga poses later, but for now I've made a 5-minute video that incorporates the poses that we learned today, holding each pose for about 30 seconds. I hope that you'll join me every day in this short 5-minute workout, and I hope you'll keep walking a mile every day as well. You can access the video on my YouTube channel, but there's a link at the end of this video that'll take you directly there. Next time we'll begin with our strength training. Until then, goodbye and good health.